Welcome to Field Supervision Training, the Lamar Standard. First, we would like to introduce you to the Field Supervision team. They include myself, Dr. Shelley Allen, Dr. Thomas Harvey, and Dr. Donna Fong. On this slide, you will find our email information. We are here to support you and answer any questions that you might have through this process and session, so do not hesitate to reach out to us. So welcome to our team. You are a valuable piece to helping our students become world-class leaders. As a field supervisor, you are the face and voice of Lamar University. You guide our students to successful completion of the program. The focus of your meeting with our students is giving them the chance to grow, to coach them, and to develop their skills for future leadership. You're going to ask them to reflect on their activity and how it will impact their future leadership. You will also set a goal with the student. As a field supervisor, you will be assigned a maximum of 36 students per session. This could be split between sections. You will notify the student if the video does not meet the 45-minute total minimum standard, and allow the students to make the necessary corrections to that standard during this session. You will document failure to meet other contextual standards in the feedback, and we'll talk about what those contextual standards are in just a moment. You will email the scheduling form letter to students during week 1 of the following session from the submission. So let's talk about contextual standards. Here are the things that are required in order for that video submission to be approved. The length of the video submission must be a total of 45 minutes. That includes that introduction, the activity, and a reflection, again for a total of a minimum of 45 minutes. All links must play and have sound. The activity must be completed individually. That means 2 Lamar students cannot get together and work on this activity and film it together. The introduction segment must include the demographics of the campus. The candidate must be clearly seen and heard throughout the interview. All segments must be conducted in a professional manner. In this special coronavirus version of the field experience, the videos may be recorded in an appropriate professional setting at the home of the candidate. Candidates must be professionally dressed in all segments. Here are some COVID adjustments. It can be recorded as an individual interview or as a group. That includes that focus group on professional development, which is now called managing group processes. So it can be recorded individually, in pairs, or as a group. It can be recorded virtually or on a campus. The use of a phone call audio for the interviewee is acceptable without a visual of that individual. However, the interviewee must be heard clearly. Though the candidate should be seen throughout the video, some video conferencing software will switch cameras with the audio, which is acceptable. There's a new format to the workbook, which we think will make your work a little easier. So let's talk about what that looks like. You are going to fill out the columns that include the feedback, coaching statement, and goal on your workbook. Your field supervisor name will be filled in, but you will need to include your TEA number. In addition to our session, we have added official titles for the field experience videos. So let's talk about those for a moment. Making shared decisions is taking the place of that master schedule video. So if you're reviewing those master schedule videos, you are going to put making shared decisions in that field experience video column. The other one is realization of the vision. Managing group processes is the official name for that focus group on professional development. And then there is a Lamar standard of color coding for your workbook, which we will explore in just a moment. Prior to your post-conference, you will view each student's practicum video submission. You're going to score the portfolio video rubric by selecting NA in the first 3 sections, and in the compliance requirements, you will score it a 4. So that's a change from what we've done in the past. So when you look at that portfolio rubric on the first 3 sections, you're going to put NA, NA, NA. When you get to the final one, which is compliance requirements, which you will see a copy of that down here in the corner, you're going to score it a 4. You're going to copy and paste your feedback in that compliance requirements box. You will click Submit. You will get another box that will ask you if you want to submit again, and you will click Submit, and that will lock it into the portfolio. Then you will copy and paste your feedback into your workbook under the feedback column. This fall session is the perfect storm, where we have many of our students who completed their final video in Summer 2 and are now in their final course in Fall 1, which causes us to need to do a priority list and a special mail merge. So most of you will have 2 sheets or tabs on your Excel workbook. You're going to refer to the first sheet on your workbook labeled Prioritize Students. These students need to have their post-conferences completed first. They have a priority deadline, and you will use the required Lamar color coding system that we will talk about in just a moment. So you need to have your first sheet of your workbook completed by September 8th. So you're going to complete those students first and send your workbook to Dr. Harvey by September 8th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time so we can send out that mail merge. Here are some ideas for helping to schedule your students. Be sure to have a variety of times that you're available for those post-conferences. Many of our students are teachers, and they only have set times when they're available to be away from their class to have that post-conference with you. Doodle allows you to share when you're available and allows the students to sign up for when they're available. So that's a great tool. You go to doodle.com, set up an account, and then it will kind of walk you through it. You pick the dates that you're available, and then you send the student the link, and then they will go to that link and then sign up for when they are available. If you have another scheduling system that works more effectively for you, you are free to use it, but we've just found great luck in that doodle.com as a scheduling tool. You're going to confirm the requested conference time with a student. So once that student signs up, Doodle will send you an email. So if you just want to respond back to the student with their email and say your appointment is confirmed, that's a great way to confirm that their conference time is the one that they requested. I will tell you, as I send out those scheduling letters, I tell the students that they will call me and give them my phone number at their scheduled time. That way I'm not keeping up with their phone number. So that might be another tip for you. When students do not select a conference time, you've sent out the Doodle link and they just ignored it or just didn't do it, then you are going to assign them a time and inform them of their scheduled time and date for the conference. But please be mindful, if they ask for a minor adjustment, please honor that if you can. Here are some ideas for getting that conference completed and getting your students to show up for that conference. You can send your students a text reminder, either the day before or the day of their scheduled conference time. So you can ask for the students' phone numbers in Doodle. Once they sign up for the conference, they sign up and put their phone number in there so you have those phone numbers. You can also email reminders to your attendees on that day before or day of and remind them they have a conference that day. Also, you can even, if you haven't heard from them, email them right at or 5 minutes prior to or 5 minutes prior after. You can text or email them and say, hey, you had a post-conference scheduled, and they might get in and complete that in that time frame that you have allotted for them. You can also use apps such as Reminder 101 that will send out a broadcast message. So those are just some tips for you to help remind the students that they have a conference with you, especially if they might have scheduled it 3 weeks ago. They may have forgotten about it. So during that conference, as a field supervisor, you're going to talk to that student about their performance and learning during the activity. So if you notice that student was a little nervous, or maybe they were talking really fast, or perhaps their questions weren't quite organized, or they really stumbled over them or the follow-up questions, you might give them some suggestions and say, I noticed this, talk to me about what was going on during that meeting, and give them some tips for how to make that better. If you saw them do something great, go ahead and praise them on that so that they know that you noticed that they did something well. You're also going to create a coaching statement and create a goal, which will both be placed in your workbook under that student's name. At the end of the post-conference, you want to tell the students that they will be receiving a letter with their feedback and goal on it. They're going to share that information with their mentor. At the bottom, it requires them to fill out information and to get their mentor's signature. Once that is completed, they're going to upload that letter into the appropriate video slot on their exit pathway. You can tell the students that they will be receiving that letter about 5 days after the scheduled deadline for this session's submissions. So we'll talk about what that deadline is at the end of this conference. Let's talk a little bit about your workbook. There are several things that will be pre-filled on that workbook. But you will be required to enter your TEA number. You will be entering the video submission feedback, the coaching statement, and the goal in the appropriate column. You're going to fill in the formal video submission name. So remember, that's a change for this time. We've got Making Shared Decisions, which is that master schedule video. Managing Group Processes, which is the focus group on professional development, and then of course the realization of the vision. You also need to remember to enter the date of the post-conference on your completed workbook. And for myself, this is something that I sometimes struggle with, so I have to remind myself. So just remember to put that post-conference date on your workbook as well. So what if that student misses your post-conference? You sent out that doodle link, they signed up, and you sent a reminder and they still didn't show up. Well, you're going to give them a second chance. Remind them of the importance and that it is a program requirement. If they miss your second chance, then you're going to email me, Dr. Shelley Allen, the following information: the student's name, email, the date of the conference that was missed, and 2 dates when you're available to complete the conference. But please give me about 48 hours to reach that student and make contact with them before the dates that you're giving me that you're available. That way we don't mess up there. So again, you're going to email me the student's name, their email, the dates that they missed you, and then give me a couple of days, about 48 hours, and then give me a couple of days and times that you're available so I can get that scheduled for you with that student. So down at the bottom of this slide, you will see my contact information, my email at Lamar. So again, we've made some changes, so we're going to kind of review that workbook and what you have to have before you submit it to Dr. Harvey. We want you to spell check and proof your feedback. Check your coaching statements and goals as well. Fill in your TEA number on your workbook. You're going to use the Lamar color coding system for your workbook. So let's talk about what that's going to look like. If you have a student on your workbook and they've completed everything, they've done your conference, you've got your feedback, goal, the post-conference date, the coaching statement on it, then you are going to take that line of that student and color code it green. If a student has got approved video and you've given them feedback, but they did not attend your post-conference even after I have reached out to them and tried to get them to schedule that conference, you're going to color the line of that student yellow. And if a student absolutely did not submit an appropriate video or a video at all, then you're going to color code that line of the student red. So again, we're expecting this Lamar color coding system to be on your workbook as you send it to Dr. Harvey for final submission. Just a reminder, you're going to email that final workbook to Dr. Thomas Harvey and CC Dr. Donna Fong by the announced deadline that we'll discuss in just a moment. So we have several tasks that we are performing for you. Those being, we will mail merge your post-conference letters after you submit your final workbook. We're going to assist you in contacting your no-shows after that second missed conference and work to get a third conference attempt scheduled with you so we can get those post-conferences completed with the students on your workbook. We are always available to support you in any way, so do not hesitate to contact us with any problem or issue that will prevent you from meeting the deadline of your completion. So again, we are here for you. Don't hesitate to contact us. Now, communication is key to making this process work. So you've got to consider how you're going to schedule it. You're going to need to confirm your students' appointments with them. You're going to confirm that the student's video was accepted or that they might need to work on something. You've got a timeline for when your students will receive that post-conference letter. And again, that's 5 days after the final day that we're allowing submissions for your final workbook. You're going to remind the students to fill in the information and sign their post-conference letter and get their mentor signature, and then upload that completed letter into their exit pathway. So let's talk about field supervisor's task. These are the things that you're going to do. You're going to email that scheduling letter and confirm conference times with your students. You're going to review the videos prior to the conference and place the feedback in the portfolio rubric and your workbook. You're going to contact Dr. Allen for rescheduling assistant if a student misses your appointment more than twice. You're going to complete your workbook, so these columns need to be filled out. The feedback, the coaching statement, and the goals, your TEA number. You're going to have the official title of the field experience video. Again, those are managing group processes, realization of the vision, and making shared decisions. You're going to use the required Lamar color coding system, and you're going to email that completed workbook to Dr. Harvey and CC Dr. Fong by the deadline. So here's our timeline. During week 1 of the session following the video submission, you will send out your scheduling letter. So that will include your doodle link if that's how you're going to schedule students. Prior to the end of that session, you're going to review the students' videos, schedule the post-conferences, and complete all field supervisor activities. Remember that priority list, that first tab on your workbook, is due by September the 8th. On or before September 20th, you will send your completed final workbook to Dr. Harvey and CC Dr. Fong. So your first deadline for that priority list, that first tab, is September 8th, and your completed final workbook is due on or before September the 20th. So just a final note. The most powerful leadership tool you have is your own personal example. Students love to hear about your stories. They love to hear about your experiences, and that's what makes you such a valuable piece of our team. If you are talking to a student and they've come up with an issue or want something explained, that's a chance for you to lay out your experience in that area and how you solved it. This helps students get a real-life piece of what goes on in the life of a principal. So we thank you for that, and we thank you for being part of our team. We look forward to working with you this session.